Welcome to Indivisible Plymouth's podcast, The Participation Project, where curiosity and honest conversations help you stay informed, get involved, and participate in the decisions that affect our communities. I'm your host today, Priscilla Anderson, and today's guest is Harrison Quinn. And Harrison is a town meeting member and also a public school teacher. Welcome, Harrison.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's exciting.
I appreciate you coming. Yeah, it is exciting. It's always fun. And I appreciate you coming in because it's a beautiful day. And I'm sure that there are a lot of other fun things to be doing outside.
Well, this place has air conditioning, so that is pretty nice.
It does. I will plug the local scene and thank them for all their help. Yes, and the studio is amazing. It's really high quality, and yes, it's temperature controlled. And
if you want to talk about having resources in our town, the fact that we have this is absolutely amazing.
So true. That is really, really true. Not all towns have this, I imagine. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty cool. You can find out more about the local scene by going to thelocalscene.media, and you can see how the studio might be able to help you out in your planning or promoting anything that you're doing in the community. So, Harrison, people have been telling me that you would make a wonderful guest.
Flattering.
Yeah, Thank
you.
Right?
Thank you for people, whoever they are.
Thank you,
That's
people.
Amazing to hear.
Yeah, it really is. They said that you are smart and that you really definitely have a pulse on what's going on in Plymouth and the community.
And a face for podcasting, for sure.
Absolutely. If only we were video. We're only audio, which I actually appreciate that we're only audio. When I spoke with you earlier, you were saying that one of the reasons that you've gotten into local politics and becoming a town meeting member is because of the lack of participating in local, at the very least, voting. Mm-hmm. And could you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. So first, let me preface it by saying there's two reasons why I got involved. And one for sure is the lack of local participation when it comes to our local elections and policies and government and all that. And we can focus on that, and I'll get to my second reason later. So I looked it up before I came here, and in the last 3 local elections, turnout has been 16%, 15%, and 13%.
Yes.
Respectively.
Honest to God, that's why Indivisible Plymouth, we started this podcast. Mm-hmm. The same thing. That kind of slapped me in the face when I found that out. And I thought, and everyone's complaining about things, and I just can't believe it that we can't get more people to the polls, or at least Massachusetts is lucky. We have really easy mail-in voting system, and it's great. I use it all the time. I don't want to stand in the lines and all that.
For sure. We could sit here for the next 58 minutes from the time we have and talk about how amazing the town clerk's office is and the work that they do to ensure that our elections are straightforward, simple, and present to everybody. It's remarkable that we, again, have that resource of this amazing town clerk's office. And I'm not trying to come off as like someone who's like snobby, better than everyone else, but I wonder how many people are listening or just in general even know what the town clerk does. Yeah,
no, that's a good point. Pretty much the town clerk does everything.
Yeah, they run the elections. They do, like, I have to go there to get a dog license, stuff like that. Yep. Like, these are things that help run the town, the logistics and the minutia of the town.
Yeah. Is there one person who is the town clerk, in quotes?
Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
Yes.
Thank you. We love you.
Oh, my God. I know I'm going to say her last name wrong. I feel so bad, but I don't want to butcher it. So, God, she's going to kill me.
We can look it up on the town website.
Yes. Oh, my God. I'm so sorry, Kelly.
That's okay.
And then Tyler's there. Tyler runs the elections, and the work that he does running the elections is just, even for a town with low turnout, it's still just an amazing lift that he does for this town. Awesome. It's remarkable. And I feel like they definitely need to be name dropped because of the hard work that they do.
Absolutely. No, thank you for doing that, because I didn't know their names either. And to your point about not being snobby or whatever, I have to admit I'm embarrassed, but I only started really participating in voting in town elections like 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, I only moved to Plymouth a couple of years ago too, but all the other towns that I've lived in, it's just, okay, you just kind of, I was complicit in all the apathy.
100%. I was as well too. Mm-hmm. So no judgment. But yeah, it's 100% the idea of like, oh, well, someone else take care of it.
Yeah.
And I kind of had this little wake up call one day, like, someone should do something about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm someone.
Yeah.
So why don't I
Yes,
go
you
out
are.
and then do something about this?
Yeah.
And so I just looked at what I am good at and what I'm capable at, and I went from there.
Thank you.
And my local government resume has since been built up because of that. And then I find that as I build up my local government resume, other people then want to be a part of this as well. And then you bring other people in with you. And then that's how you start finding like solutions to problems around the town.
That is so true. That's a good point, because it's like a fisherman's net, like the web of connections that we all make in different roles that we play in the community or anywhere. What does your town government resume look like? Like, where did you start? How long ago did you start?
So part of that goes into the second reason, but I'll get to that first. So like, what do I do for the town? So I am an 8th grade civics teacher at my alma mater, PCIS.
Nice.
I am a elected official for Precinct 2 town meeting. I am the chair of the Plymouth Center Steering Committee. I am the governor appointed member of the Plymouth Redevelopment Authority. I also run the community service club at my middle school, and I am the chair of my outreach committee at First Parish Plymouth. And I also helped co-found a civics social club meant to get more working age people involved in the local government process.
Okay, you're doing so much that I couldn't even write it all down as fast as keeping up with what you're saying.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize. I appreciate everything that you're doing. I didn't even know that you did all that. See, now I'm starting to see why people were saying, you should have Harrison Quinn on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So Precinct 2, what part of town does that cover?
That is part of downtown, at the Cold Spring neighborhood, if you will. So Nelson Park, Nelson Street, where Benny's is, which is a very hot topic in Plymouth today.
Oh, what's going to happen with Benny's? Yeah.
Yes, what's going to happen with Benny's. Miles Court, parts of Standish Ave, Olmsted Terrace, like that whole area going into a little bit of downtown. I believe the cutoff line is Clifton Street, right across from Memorial Hall, all the way up to Holmes Reservation. So that's my little neck of the woods.
Which is that big giant field.
Yes.
Which is so pretty there.
Right.
Yeah. What does the steering committee do?
Right. I love that question because a lot of people hear steering committee and they have no idea what a steering committee is.
Yeah.
So we're a non-binding committee, meaning people come to us and we can vote on things, but it's not enforceable.
Okay.
So we are an advocacy group for Plymouth Center or downtown.
Oh, okay.
So if someone wants to do some type of development or some type of ordinance or some type of change that they want to see in downtown, they come to our committee to debate and discuss with us.
Okay.
And then we will vote on it. We can either vote yay or nay, depending how the committee votes.
Okay.
And then whomever is asking for that change could take that to the next committee and be like, hey, planning board, steering committee said this is good. They're okay it. Can you then approve the permits for this development? Or can you then advocate for what we want to do here? And it's just kind of like more than just a citizen advocating for some type of change. You actually have this governmental body saying like, hey, we are we're appointed officials in this neighborhood and we agree that this should be passed.
Okay, so for example, the select board, there was probably logistically no way that they could hear every single ask of community members of what they want to do downtown or
every other neighborhood in Plymouth
and
and village in Plymouth as well. Yes.
Okay. This is like it seems like it's a layer and a tool that residents and businesses can use to help kind of get the conversation rolling and make some changes, make some recommendations.
Yeah.
And then they can then bring it to the appropriate committee for an actual vote.
It's easier to come and talk to the steering committee. I know on one level, let me back up. It does feel like another level of this bureaucracy that takes time to get through and then we don't know what we're supposed to do. And
yeah.
But if it's like you said, the select board would be so overwhelmed they didn't have these. Yeah. You would have a line of dozens and dozens of people, every select board meeting asking for some type of change or and they'd be like, it's just another thing that we have to check, another box that we have to make sure we get done. And that seems exhausting.
Yeah, it would be like on Game of Thrones when people want an audience with the queen, and there's just a big line of people there.
So I've never seen that because I was told the ending was so bad. I'm like, I can't invest my time in this show, so I don't know.
That's a lot of the other episodes were really good.
I've heard, but I'm
trying to watch House of the Dragon now with my daughter, and I just can't. She tries to explain to me who the characters are, and there's a huge number of characters, and they're all related, and there's a lot of incest, and it's insane. And
That doesn't happen in town government, FYI.
no, good. That's a relief. Phew, that is such a relief. It's funny because she tries to explain, and I say, you know what, honey, it's just really entertaining to watch, even if I don't remember who's who.
It's just fun to watch for a little bit.
It's fun to watch, except for the really bloody, gory parts. But I digress. So you were saying then you can go and discuss and make recommendations.
Yep. And then we could also have other committees come to our meetings and talk to us.
Oh.
So Chief Flynn of the Plymouth Police Department has this great program, the CCT, the Community Connection Team, where they go to each different steering committees and they send one officer to the meeting to debate and discuss what's going on with the town in relation to the Plymouth Police Department. Yeah. And so we had a meeting last night, and I'd say 40 to 50% of this meeting was all about the 4th of July response, because that greatly affects downtown Plymouth.
Sure.
And it's like what worked well, what didn't work well, what happened, what can we do next year to improve that? And it's great for residents to hear, like, this is what the police department's doing for these major events, but it's also great for the police department to hear, like, here's some feedback, or here's what worked really, really well.
Yeah.
And then they can, like, okay, that worked well last year. Let's do it again. This didn't work well. How can we change it?
Yeah. I'm sure that benefits both sides tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that was happening either. That sounds amazing, like an opportunity for the police department to integrate in with the community. Yep. And vice versa.
Sergeant Shaw comes to our meetings and he'll discuss like what we just did in 4th of July, or how the Thanksgiving parade go, or like how are we dealing with like influx of tourists come August and all that stuff. And it's just great to hear, because Sergeant Shaw is very open to feedback, and he'll be like, I'm 100% running this by the chief. That's a great idea. And it's great and empowering for the community to hear that like this police force is actually listening to what the residents of each neighborhood are saying, and then implementing change because of it.
That is neat. Yeah, that's great. Now, you said there is a steering committee for each neighborhood?
Just about.
So, but not each precinct?
Not each precinct, because that'd be too much. Yeah. I don't think Ellisville has a steering committee, but there's a Manamet one, and there's a Cedarville one as well, too. Okay. There's a North Plymouth, a West Plymouth. So there's...
Didn't even know these things.
Yep. A lot of people don't know that they're out there, and all you have to do is just apply when there's an opening. And I've been on this committee now for 3 years, and there's been a lot of turnover, and that's just generally life in general. Sure. But it's grateful to hear new voices and new ideas.
Yeah, definitely. So you don't have to be a town meeting member to be on a steering committee, for example.
You do not.
Very
so
cool.
Don't worry about trying to go through elections if that's not your bag.
Yeah.
But you still want to make, some type of change within your community, especially your neighborhood, which is a lot more well-known to you. That would help.
Yeah, absolutely. People can take more ownership of that. And then I missed one thing, and I'm going down to a community service club at PCIS.
Yes, the Senators. So myself.
Settlers.
Sorry, Senators.
Oh, Senators. Yeah. Okay. I like the Settlers. We'll go with that.
Maybe next year.
Awesome.
So myself and another teacher, Rosario Lovell, run this community service club where we just outreach on behalf of the school for little projects around the town. So we do Thanksgiving food baskets and Toys for Tots. We do Bus Driver Appreciation Day, where we put a bunch of donuts and coffee and cards and hand them to the bus drivers when we drop the kids off in the morning.
I never even thought of that.
Yep. So
because the teachers get appreciated. And oh my gosh, that's so cool.
So the bus drivers get to walk away with their nice little coffee and their donuts and their cards and their thank yous. And it's just, it's great to take a 12-year-old and be like, hey, you can make a little change.
Yeah.
And that's going to plant the seed that they always have the ability to make the difference if they want.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, bus driving is a thankless job. It is.
It's tough.
Not easy.
Yeah. They're always looking for drivers. So
yeah. What else? What were the other? I think I missed 2 things that you do.
I'm the governor appointed member of the Plymouth Redevelopment Authority.
Yeah, that's definitely one that I missed. Yeah.
Yeah. So Michelle Butters works with the school system, excuse me.
Okay.
Michelle Badgers represents the majority of Plymouth in the State House. She recommended me to Governor Healy to be on the Redevelopment Authority. The governor can appoint one person to the Redevelopment Authority. I don't know if it's statewide or it's just Plymouth. Honestly, I don't know. But she recommended me, and I was approved because I have at times made a very big stink about the lack of affordable housing in this town. And I've given multiple speeches about it at town meeting about how we need to do more to advocate for more affordable housing. Even on my time in the steering committee as well, too. I've been fighting for more affordable housing and actual affordable housing, not just quote unquote affordable.
Right. Actually affordable.
Yes. So we do things like helping people get first-time homebuyer loans. We work with Habitat for Humanity. In fact, Habitat for Humanity and the Redevelopment Authority worked in a house that's next to my aunt and uncle's house. So when I've gone to see them during the holidays, it's like there's this house that was like amazingly put back together because of all this effort from so many different people in the town.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah. So you can kind of see that in real time, how it's affected the community and that family.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I know there was other thing that I missed about your resume, but since you brought up affordable housing, I would love to learn more about that because I understand there's a lot involved and there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
But it is so hard right now. I'm more familiar with the struggles of young adults having to try to to launch.
They don't. They leave.
That's
a huge problem for our town.
They cannot do it.
And part of the issue is that we have, I'm sure other people have called it this, but it's like this golden handcuffs where someone bought a house 10 years ago, 30 years ago, where it was significantly less in cost and their rates were so low that if they move, they're totally screwing over their financials.
Yeah.
The fact that if they go and try to sell their house, they'll make a ton of money, but then they won't be able to take that equity and then buy another house. So they're kind of like have these golden handcuffs and they're stuck in their house that they're in. But then that forces people to never sell their home or never downsize to an empty nest house, which then exacerbates this problem of not enough housing stock in the town.
Yeah.
So.
And then what about the rentals?
Rentals are difficult as well, too. This is someone who actually owns a rental. So I own a duplex. I live in one side and I rent the other. And I'm renting below market rate. And that's still like I'm barely cutting it.
Yourself by what?
Yeah. But I also don't want to feel like I'm a part of this massive problem.
Right.
So it's
by
pretty tough.
Overcharging, and it's not even overcharging. Like, like you have to make a certain amount in order to get all your bills paid and keep up the upkeep on the home. Yeah. It's just the kids can't move out.
The kids can't, or it's easier for them. Like it was sad because I had friends who were neighbors. They had 3 kids and they're like, it's cheaper for us to move to Texas. And they left. And then that's not going to help us here because now we're losing young adults and their families to go out and actually do something about it.
Yeah. I know a couple families that have moved to Maine for similar reasons. It's the cheaper housing up there. But once they go up there, then they're kind of stuck up there. I mean, that's great if they like it, but they could never afford to come back here.
And then I have a huge problem personally with Airbnbs. I mean, that's my opinion, but I feel like that exacerbates the problem when...
How's it do that?
So you are someone who buys a duplex or a small summer home. That could be a starter home for someone, but instead you rent it out periodically over the summer for an Airbnb. And then that's non-permanent housing that someone who could use permanent housing is now losing out on.
Okay.
So I'm not going to name drop, but I know someone who owns another duplex. So they could have someone living there full time. It's a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom side of their house. And they're like, no, we just do Airbnbs for a couple weeks during the summer.
And they probably make as much money as renting it year round.
So they could rent it year round and give that to a family to stay in Plymouth and get settled. But they're realizing like, well, it's easier and it's better for me to Airbnb it as well.
They maintain their privacy more.
But then that means that's one house off the market.
Yeah. Is the money really equitable? Like, do they really on the Airbnb make close to what they would make from renting it?
I'm assuming so, or else, I mean, since housing is so expensive in this town, it would be a lot for them to keep losing money. Right. If they were losing a substantial amount of money, there's no point of doing it. Exactly. They would either sell the whole duplex and that's happening to my neighbors. Actually, it was a duplex. It was bought by someone, I believe, in Boston, and they're just going to start Airbnb-ing it. And it's an up and down duplex, and it's 4 bedrooms, 1.5 baths on both floors. And they're just going to Airbnb it.
That's big.
Yep. So you could have 2 families living there in downtown Plymouth, but instead you're going to have people there from June to August using it as like a getaway house. And whoever owns that in Boston is just going to take the profit. And then another family is going to have to move out of Plymouth because they can't stay here anymore.
Ugh. And then what do they... So in that case, where someone in Boston owns it, what do they do with it for the rest of the year?
Nothing. It sits empty.
It sits there.
And then that exacerbates the problem because then, while we do make a lot of money from an influx of tourists spending their time going downtown and going to restaurants or buying knickknacks at different shops. Having that house empty for 8 months out of the year, that's money that's not being spent at all during those 8 months. They're not going to Monte Cristo's to get a pizza in March because they don't want to cook dinner that night. So then that's money lost there. Or they're not going to the bowling alley or whatever it is they may be doing. But because that house sits empty for so long, then there's a tax base that's lost.
Because the tourists who rent it as an Airbnb, they would spend money during the time that they're here, but they're not, like if it was like you said, a family, they would spend money here too.
Yep.
All year round.
I mean, I'm here year round, and my brother and I are going out for dinner in a couple weeks, and to celebrate his birthday, we have it all planned out, and that's going to be amazing. It's going to be fun. But
where are you going?
I said Monty's because that's where we grew up. We would go to Monty's in Manamet. That was like our kid place, so we're doing that again, just to kind of like the nostalgia. But they also have amazing pizza. I do love Monty's pizza.
Yeah. I just had the pig. What's it called? Pig.
Artisan pig.
Thank you. The artisan pig pizza last night. It was really good.
I it's a little off topic, but I always have to say this when it comes to artisan pig.
Yeah.
One, best chicken salad I've ever had. It's amazing. Yeah, whoever listening, go there and get the chicken salad. And two,
really?
And I'll always say this because I feel like I have to. I have never been to a restaurant or an establishment in general that has never been so astute and caring and loving for people with allergies.
That's amazing.
I cannot. I would tell a million people. Like my niece has like deathly allergic allergies. Excuse me. And they were like, "We're on it," and it was amazing to see like how much they cared and wanted to make sure that she felt safe. But she also enjoyed her meal, and then let the family know that she was okay. It was unbelievable.
I didn't know that. I know they do well gluten-free because I have a family member with celiac. And when Michelle Badger was here,
she has that celiac pill going through the house, right?
Yeah, the celiac pill, yeah. Yes, we spent a lot of time talking about that. And I know that 110 Grill,
they're good at that as well too.
But I didn't know that there was like a small restaurant that is that compassionate.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. They're very compassionate when it comes to people with allergies. FYI to anyone who's listening who has allergies, just go spend all your money at Artisan Pig.
Right, no kidding. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, my heart goes out to celiac is bad, but my family member isn't going to die. If
yes, they could be very uncomfortable.
If
not feeling well for sure.
In long term, they definitely can be very, very, very sick long term. But it's terrifying that if someone has, someone has an exposure of any kind.
Yep. So like my niece has to carry around an EpiPen and all the whole 9 yards. And it's nice knowing, like, okay, we can go there and have a sigh of relief because she's going to be safe and eat good food.
In the summer, it's hard. The EpiPens and stuff, they have to be temperature controlled.
Yep.
You're supposed to like stick them in like a cooler or something.
Oh, don't worry. They only cost a couple $1,000s.
Exactly. Right? You can't just throw them in your glove compartment and leave them there in the sun all day. Yeah, that's another whole topic, right? How difficult it is for families with allergies. But getting back to, we were talking about
my resume.
Yeah, your resume and the affordable housing.
Yes.
So we were starting to talk about apartments. That's how we got talking about the duplexes and stuff, I think, and the struggles and challenges with all these condos being built, which I don't think is really helping our housing situation. I know that if they are falling under the caveat of being affordable housing, that's only a very small percentage of units that have to be affordable. And again, they're not really affordable.
No, they're not. And if anyone wants to correct me, I'm happy to learn. I believe it's 80 to 120% of AMI, or average medium income for the town. So that means to be qualified for affordable in Plymouth is essentially about $85,000 to $125,000 a year.
That you and your partner, whatever, have to make in order to.
So if you're making $75,000 a year, you cannot afford affordable housing.
Let that sink in.
Again, my numbers could be wrong. I will accept that, but that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
So
no, I mean, it sounds about right. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
People are working so hard.
Oh, I know, right? And it's stressful and it's terrifying to think that something as safe as your home, that it should be, for a lot of people, it's not a home. It's just this place that I'm crashing in until I can hopefully someday afford a home. Yeah. Which then seems every year gets a little bit further and further away. Does. Which is why I keep making such a big deal at whatever avenue I can about the lack of actual affordable housing in this town.
And we're actually lucky that we live in Massachusetts because Massachusetts has a higher minimum wage than many other states or than federal.
But our cost of living is so much
that's
higher.
true.
Yeah, it's
true.
just a complete. It's tough.
Yeah,
So
it's a tough It's a tough thing to balance. What can be done?
right. So on a personal level, that's where if whoever is listening should get involved. And if this is something you really care about, then look for different positions in the town government. Even beyond, if something in the Commonwealth pops up, look there. Look for advocacy groups, different committees, seeing what you could do to get involved on a very basic level, at least at first make you feel like you're doing something. Because you don't want to feel like you're treading water, because that makes the situation seem worse.
Absolutely.
Right?
We can't function when our brains are so stressed.
Exactly. Or if you feel like it's just going to get worse, and then you start overwhelmed, and then you give up, and then you scroll your phone for 4 hours and realize you could have done something better with your time.
And you're doom scrolling. Yes.
Right? Yeah. I have always found when it comes to major problems, you very, very much need a top-down and bottom-up approach. So go after the really big things as much as you go after the really little things. And I think you keep eating away at that problem until it's nothing left. So like a top-down, which we're not there yet as a town, but I think we could do, is to rezone different parts of the town.
Okay.
So a lot of Plymouth, I think we're around 70%. And again, if anyone wants to correct me, I'm happy to be corrected. I believe around 70% of rural residential, which is like you have to have over an acre to put a house on it, which is crazy that like that's a lot of land at a town where land is stupidly expensive to only put one house on there. And when you do that, then that house becomes $800,000 and it's 3 bedrooms and 1.5 bath.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, how many people are actually affording that?
Right.
Not many.
Not many.
So if you can change some of the zoning where you're allowed to put, on an acre, 3 homes. The proverbial starter home that hasn't existed in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
We can pick different pockets of the town to build little starter homes. And then that would be a very much like a top-down, huge problem, addressing the problem right away fix.
Okay.
Another one which we did vote on and it did pass, and I was very much advocating for this, was the ADU law.
Yep.
The additional dwelling unit.
How's that work? Because I thought, oh, good, $50,000 or something like that, and we can just drop one down from the sky. How does that work?
That just snap your fingers and it's there. It allows you to take the home that you're living in and to essentially put the in-law apartment on that. So before we passed the ADU law, you needed to, if you wanted to build an in-law unit, it had to be someone who was in your family.
Yeah.
And that was it. What made it very difficult, because if you had a family member who was retired and they moved to Florida or whatever, it's like, well, I'm not going to build an in-law because they're not moving up from Florida to come back to Massachusetts.
Okay.
Or if you don't think, sadly, they're not going to be around that much longer, you don't want to drop all this money on this in-law, and then in 4 years, it's just going to sit empty in the house until hopefully one of your kids is old enough to live there. Like that becomes...
Because zoning won't let you rent it out to anyone after your family member passes on or whatever.
So the financial aspect of it wasn't there.
Yeah.
Now you can rent it out to people as long as it meets code, which is really important, obviously, and it has to have off-street parking specifically for that. So we can't like fill up the streets of, people can't keep throwing on ADUs on a house and then putting on a ton of traffic.
Okay. Everybody parking in the street.
Exactly. So you'd have to showcase that there's at least a separate or an extension to your driveway that can fit, if 2 people live there, 2 cars.
Okay.
And that will be a very bottom-up approach, because that law is now passed where someone, like I'll take my parents, for example. They live in an empty nest. They could, if they wanted to, the attic space above their garage would be a perfect ADU.
Okay.
First off, my stepfather is a licensed contractor. He can go out and just design it and build it if he wanted to, and then they could rent that as a 1-bedroom apartment. They could then have passive income, or if they really wanted to, they could live in that and then rent the house out to a family for even more income.
Yeah.
And that makes it significantly easier for them.
Yeah. So even the first people that live there don't even have to be related to you.
Nope.
Okay.
And so that was part of the reason why I voted it. And I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble here, but before I passed this, is that I knew 3 people who were living in uncoded illegal ADUs because they couldn't afford to live anywhere else in this town.
Yeah.
So they were living above someone's garage in the hopes that they just didn't get caught.
Yeah.
Because then they'd be kicked out and the person who owned the ADU would be fined. Well, now you can actually do it legally and it'll be up to code, which makes it safer. But then we're addressing like this bottom approach where more people can find someplace to live.
Yeah.
And while I may be a big advocate of having families move in, I recognize the fact that not everyone wants to have a family, and that's 100% their choice. Someone just wants to live on their own sometimes.
Yeah.
So maybe for them, an ADU is all they ever wanted.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And now that we have access to build those, then that should help a lot.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's a lot of upfront cost.
Right.
But what I imagine happening in the coming years is as families start getting a little bit older or kids start growing up, this is where hopefully you'd see like the child taking out a loan to build the ADU for their parents. The parents move in the ADU and the kid moves into the house and then they start the family. And then I see more houses becoming 3-generational instead of 2-generational.
Oh,
and then that would help the whole housing crisis.
Right.
So that's the top down
Long-term.
and bottom up. Yes.
Yeah, that
Yep.
is really neat. What do you might not know this, but what is the average cost of an ADU?
I honestly, I don't know. That's a
I'm
good
sure
question.
it varies
Yeah.
largely.
Probably depend on size and what you have to do with it. If you have well water compared to town water.
Yeah.
So
They don't have to be attached, right? They don't have to be.
no. So if you have like a
touching each other?
detached garage and
Yeah.
you wanted to put it above that, you can
Yeah.
do it as long as it meets the plumbing and coding standards and you can have off-street parking for it. Then yeah.
Do you know if they have to have a basement?
No, they do not.
Wow, that's significant cost reduction
Yeah,
there.
Because a lot of people will probably be turning like their above garage attics into an ADU.
Yeah. Right. That's great. Top down, bottom up. People
As-
getting involved in government.
Yes, because that's when, if you're getting involved in different groups or committees, that's when you can start saying like, I'm voting yes or no against this.
Hmm.
So I think what first got me, for lack of better term, sounding very stuck up, getting noticed about my advocacy for affordable housing. There was a halfway house in downtown Plymouth that was being purchased by a developer to be turned into a boutique hotel. And I voted against it because I said that could be used for affordable housing. It's already like multiple housing. It doesn't really have to even be rebuilt. It could be,
Yeah.
and they said no, because they make more money as a hotel than they would as housing. And so because I made such a big deal about that, people started noticing how like I'm advocating for more affordable housing.
That's awesome. That's really awesome, and thank you for doing that.
Still could become a hotel, but
Yeah.
sometimes you go down swinging. So
Yeah. Well, like I always say, keeps the conversation moving forward.
Yeah, and I'll say this, that developer came to my a meeting about a year later, and he said, like, I know you were upset about the hotel one, so this new development has more affordable housing in it, because I knew when I was coming to this meeting, I was going to have to explain that to you.
Yeah.
And I voted in favor of that development. That development actually ended up falling through for different reasons.
Yeah.
But the fact that he remembered 10 months later, be like, you're the affordable housing guy. Like that was important for me to hear.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Really, because that you must have had some kind of impact on him and the next project he got into. He kind of looked at it a little bit differently.
Yep. That he knows that like if he comes to my committee again, he's going to have to tell me why it's important that he's putting in affordable housing into his different developments.
Yeah. Or he would have to explain why there is no affordable housing and what he wants to do.
Yep. Or I could try to then advocate for people not to vote for it.
Mm-hmm.
Which would then hinder his progress to then make the developments that he needs to make.
Yeah. But that couldn't be done with the Pulte project, huh?
No, and they also never came to my committee because it's a North Plymouth position, and I'm representing. I represent downtown in both town meeting and on the steering committees.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm aware, nothing has come through the redevelopment authority with that as well either. So again, this is where like more people should get involved. But I'm hearing so much about the pushback from Pulte that like hopefully more people are getting involved and things change because of it.
Yeah. Well, actually, I remember thinking that's actually what started me thinking about how could only 15% of registered voters come and vote when they know that these condo complexes are coming up, which are just going to cost the town a lot of money. They're not going to even equal their property taxes that those families have to pay every year. It's going to cost the town a lot of money. I think, what was it, $26,000 or something per student per year to go through the school system, not to mention the uses of all the town commodities and police, fire, and all those other things. It's having all those residential properties in a condo complex. It's just wear and tear on the roads. It's just really, it's going to make things a lot harder. And again,
so it's always this like, we want families to have a place to live.
Yeah.
And then the developer's looking at it like, well, here's a place for you to live. And then people get really mad. And then everyone starts yelling at each other. And then no one votes and nothing changes.
That's about it. Yep. And the developer says, well, these are affordable. But as you pointed out,
usually they're not actually affordable.
You can't afford to live in them, really. So that sounds all nice. But do you know anything about how we could go about increasing commercial land or commercial spaces where companies would pay more in taxes to Plymouth that might benefit us and give us some more money?
Yeah, we actually just talked about this at the steering committee meeting last night. Bill Cohane from the select board came, and we had a new member, Melissa, to the point where I actually don't know her last name because she literally just came for the first time last night. She was just appointed.
Awesome. You did well to remember the first name.
Thank you. She talked about how the planning board hired a consultant about what we could do to increase our commercial tax base.
Yeah.
And something that's pointed out, which is like, I think we've all kind of realized before, but not actually kind of put two and two together, is that we have like ridiculous amounts of parking spaces in this town.
Oh, I've never thought about that.
So have you ever been to BJ's?
I have.
So what's across from BJ's? I don't even know what's there anymore, but I feel like those are mainly empty retail spaces.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't provide a lot of increased tax base, but it's empty retail and then like thousands upon thousands and thousands of parking spots.
Oh.
Where you could then take that land and put another commercial property there.
Okay.
And that would be another increase of tax base. And if you think of like just on top of the hill above where like Panera Bread is and Shops at 5, there used to be a Joann's Fabric and a bank. It's like Bridgewater Federal Credit Union. And now it's Atrius Health.
Yep.
Like that provides a significantly larger tax base for our town and it provides high paying jobs where people can afford to live here more than just like another retail store.
Right.
So we could reimagine a lot of some of the spaces that we're using in this town to try to drive up more commercial property, whether that's like more mixed use and industrial areas or seeing what we could do. A great idea off the top of my head I'm thinking about right now is how town meeting about 3 years ago voted to buy a small parcel of land by PCIS for the DPW. And that way the DPW of all their little satellite sites can now all come together in one spot. And now hopefully those satellite sites can open up for different commercial use or different housing use. Instead of just having a piece of land that has some plows on it and some DPW, like, no, that can be now something else, which we can then increase our tax base with.
Consolidation. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. There's a lot of land in Plymouth.
We're the largest town area-wise in the state.
Geographically.
Yep.
That's pretty unique.
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But then an issue with that is that a lot of people look at it and they'd be like, I just read yesterday the most desirable, I forget what website it was, but the most desirable places to live in the United States. I listed the top 10 and 4 of them were in New England and Massachusetts was 6.
Okay.
But then there's almost like the weird gatekeeping here. It's like, we don't make a lot of money. If you don't make enough money, you're not allowed here anyways.
Can't be here, yeah.
Yeah. So
what were the other ones? I have to know.
So New Hampshire was New Hampshire was number 1. Massachusetts was 6. Vermont was 7. I think Connecticut was 10. I think that's how it worked. Yeah. No, Maine was 9. That's what it was. So
Maine's up there too.
Yeah. Connecticut and Rhode Island, I remember Southern New England weren't really in that. So those were considered the quote unquote most desirable places to live in America. I forget the other ones. I literally only focus in New England. Sure, I'm biased, but
yeah, you got a lot to do.
Yeah,
you got a lot on your hands.
I try.
On your plate.
But people want to live here. There's great education, access to healthcare. We have history. We have beaches. There's so much to see and do here that people want to put down roots and raise their families here. There's a lot that we need to do to make sure that we can be sustainable, but also not just gatekeep people who are poor from not being here.
Yeah, by having the cost of housing be so much and not having enough.
Yep. We'll get there. It takes time and advocacy. And if anyone here is listening, just get out and get involved in any way. I always say too, like if housing is not your thing, that's okay. There's other things.
There's a lot of work to be done.
There's a lot of work to be done. And, someone should do something about it. But you're someone. So go out and do something about it.
Well, I'm someone.
That's right. So one of my thing about doing something, but also showcasing like the larger part of the problem. It's how I start my school year every year. So I live on the rail path in downtown Plymouth. Have you ever?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a gold mine there. I mean, not money-wise, but
yes,
it's great...
this amazing resource that this town has that we get to do that. And I get to do that 3 times a day. I run every day. I walk my dog every day. I take my kid out every day. Nice. And I'm on that rail path and I'm just blown away that this is my literal backyard.
Yeah.
And I can't believe that.
Yeah.
That part of it must be hard work, but part of it also just must be luck.
Yep.
So one day I take my cute scruffy dog, Dublin, for a walk. And I get to the rail path and I think to myself, this is covered in trash. It's just litter beyond belief. And I look down at Dublin. I'm like, I'm sorry, boy. And I bring him home and I get my gloves and I get my trash barrel and I start walking up and down the rail path because I just can't take the trash anymore. Yeah. I'm just so sick of looking at it. And I keep picking up all this trash. And I remember it just rained and things were kind of muddy. Ugh. And I'm reaching under a bush because I saw some piece of trash there. And I pulled out, I swear this happened.
I'm afraid. What are we going to say?
A cannonball.
What?
Yep. So I looked at it, I'm like...
a real cannonball from like the 1700s?
1791. So...
That's so cool.
I found this cannonball and I couldn't believe, I'm like, there's no way I found a freaking cannonball.
Right.
But I know...
How did you know? Well,
I know Donna
your
Curtin.
history and civics. I would say, is it a bowling ball?
So I reached out to Donna Curtin. She runs the Pilgrim Hall Museum and she got me in touch with these munition historians.
Okay.
And they had me weigh it and measure it and take pictures of it. And it matched up perfectly with the 1791 U.S. Army Field Manual.
That's so amazing. Did you get to keep it?
It's still, I leave it in my classroom.
And in the classroom where it can do a lot more good and reach a lot more people.
And for everyone listening, it's just an inert ball. Don't worry.
it's just not going to blow up.
It kind of looks like an avocado, but
It's that shape?
It's very pitted. And it's about the size of a baseball.
But it's totally round, right?
Yeah, it's round. It's kind of a little squished. So yeah, we have no idea how it got there. For all I know, someone could have just dropped it there as litter 2 days before. The two working theories that we have was the rail path before the railroad was built was just farmland, and sometimes the naval militia would use the farmland like target practice. Mm-hmm. The thing that I believe is those railroad tracks were built in 1852. The railroad companies would buy surplus cannonballs from the army as mill balls to crush the stones when they would lay the tracks. So they would get gravel and then they would have to put a mill ball and a tumbler to crush the stones to lay down.
Well, that kind of makes sense.
Yes, yeah, so that's why it's probably so pitted and it's just litter from the 1850s. So they're like, we don't need this gold cannonball anymore. It's just been sitting there until I found it whatever years ago. But the moral of the story, what do you think the rail path was like the next day?
Well, clean because you cleaned it.
There's trash again.
Just the way it was.
Yep. When I walked Dublin to Nelson Park this morning, I picked up trash again.
Aw.
So I can do that immediate direct action, which is all well and good. And that direct action needs to happen.
Yep.
Or else the problem just festers.
Yep.
But at the same time, if no one addresses the root cause of the problem, then nothing's ever actually going to change.
Okay.
So part of my civics curriculum is we have to do this community service project. Mm-hmm. And we could advocate to do a beach cleanup and we could get every 8th grader in Plymouth to go to the beach and we can pick up trash. What's going to happen when the tide comes in?
Beautiful beach for one day.
For 6 hours until the tide comes back in. You're like, oh, there it is. There's all the nip bottles and all this other stuff again. Yeah. And so we need to address, well, why is there trash in the ocean to begin with?
Yeah.
And when you start looking at that problem, that's when you start focusing on the change. And that's where groups like, have you heard of Sustainable Plymouth?
Yes.
Yes, they're amazing. And Andrea Dickinson and the work that she has done through Sustainable Plymouth to advocate and then make the root changes that need to happen is only going to benefit our town. The problem is we don't see the immediate effect of it, which then makes people feel defeated, but just know you're not alone. So the more you get involved, the more you're someone doing something, the more things will eventually change.
I like that. It's also local, state, national, continental world thinking. Yep. There's something that needs to be done at every level.
Yep. And you can't stretch yourself too thin because then you get overwhelmed. So I thought when I got involved in town government, I'd be in on doing a lot about schools and education, given my background in teaching. But unbeknownst to me, it became housing. And that became such a big deal. And that has been my quote unquote bread and butter of looking for things to try to make change in this community. And that's led me to all these different places. So maybe your thing is the environment. And in fact, I convinced a friend of mine to run for town meeting. Her name's Tess Goldman. She just graduated college. She can't afford to live in this town like many other people. So she's living in an in-law apartment. And I get that. It's tough and we're figuring it all out. But she deeply cares about the environment of this town. And she works for Wildlands Trust. And the work that she does is amazing. And she won her place on town meeting by 6 votes.
See?
And
6
so she,
votes?
for the next 3 years, if she chooses to run for re-election or if she loses, whatever it may be, but for the next 3 years, She's going to be a powerful voice that this town needs to hear to make sure that the environmental causes that our town needs to champion are being voted on in a binding way through town meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So she's going to be...
Because of 6 people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously everybody, but...
So you say that. I actually work with someone who was on town meeting. She got on town meeting with 3 votes.
Wow.
And I don't mean by 3 votes. I mean, literally 3 people voted for her, herself, her husband, and her neighbor. And she got on town meeting because that's how pathetic.
What?
Yeah, that's how low people vote in this town.
Was there no one else?
Nope.
Was she running unopposed or?
She was a write-in. There were, if I recall correctly, there were 2 people running for 3 spots. So she just said, all right, I'm going to put my name in, told her husband, told her neighbor, they voted for her, and she gets to decide what we do with $300 million.
I'm speechless.
So, and I love her. She's great at what she does, and I'm happy she's there. But I also look at it, I'm like, we need to do better than 3 votes.
Yeah.
To give her credit, she was up for re-election past May, and she won her precinct by a significant amount. She got like 400 votes.
Wow.
Yeah, so like she's doing her job. She's doing her job for
Yeah.
sure. But at the same time, it's like, okay, like, you know, you got to
that's
do more than
great.
that. And even my precinct 2, there were 3 spots and only 2 incumbents were running. So there was a write-in campaign, and one person, there was tied. 2 people got 5 write-in votes, and then went to a precinct meeting, and one person got 3 votes, and they're now the new town meeting member.
Wow.
Mm.
So we do have more power than we think we do.
Yes.
And
Yeah. I
that's-
mean, Tess Goldman, 6 votes,
wow.
and good for her.
Yeah.
So
That's motivating.
if you want to run for town meeting, go see Kelly at the town clerk's office, pull papers. And
How many signatures do you have to get?
for town meeting, you need 10 signatures. She recommends 15 to 20 because they do at the fact check. You know, sometimes people scribble their signature. It's like,
Can't read
yeah,
them.
right.
Yeah.
So get more than just 10. But it's pretty simple.
That's not bad.
Yep.
That's pretty doable.
Think about it. Or there's always openings, and you can go to the town clerk's office. And I looked it up once. It's 50 plus different boards and committees in this town, and there's dozens
Wow.
of vacancies.
And with the committees, you don't have to get voted in. Like a lot of them are voluntary, right?
Some are, so redevelopment authority is, I'm appointed by governor. Some of them are elected. Some members, like Paul Curtis was just reelected to a 5-year position. Barry Wood was just elected to a 5-year position. So they were voted into the redevelopment authority. Some are appointed by planning board. Some are supported by select board, which is then kind of like, oh my God, this word soup. Like, what are all these different words? And what is a select board to begin with? Which
Totally.
is, yeah, right. And, you know, if we had more time, I wrote this 1-pager for my civics club about like, here's what they all do. And
Okay.
here's the vocabulary so that you can kind of like go back and like, so select board is our version of like the executive branch.
Yeah.
So they can appoint, they delegate to people to say, all right, I'm appointing you to this position. Go and work on the behalf of the town.
Yeah. And then bring it all back. And then
town meeting is our Congress, and then they vote on it. And then they're the ones who hold the pocketbook to decide where the money goes as well, too. And FinCom, the Advisory and Finance Committee, they're like our judicial branch. They judge whether we should be doing this or not.
Mm-hmm.
So
The finance committee can yay or nay something.
they don't, it's not binding power.
Okay.
So there's a 9 or 11, forgive me. I'm sounding like such a bad member of town meeting. I forget how many people
Like
on
I
FinCom.
would know the difference.
So like, let's just say for argument's sake, there's 9. All 9 members of FinCom can be like, no, we don't want this, but
Yeah.
town meeting could vote it in favor of it. They're in a way like the steering committee.
Yeah.
So town meeting takes their vote as like, okay, like if every single person's saying no, then we probably shouldn't do this.
Right.
But town meeting has the ending authority of whether or not we should or should not do something.
That makes sense. So there's a lot of people that in town that want to change the format of the Plymouth government. What are people looking to, what are the alternatives and how would that look?
So I can't speak on to how it will look because the idea, from my understanding right now, is to form a committee to debate what the new charter would look like.
Mhm.
And for those of you who are listening, a charter is our version of the Constitution, the basic framework of our government. How should we run our little town? And
Our
there's
little big town.
our little big town. So that's part of the debate is that we have $300 million and 162 town meeting members, but they meet only twice a year. And sometimes people get on town meeting with single digit votes. Should we change that to maybe having a city council with like 2 people per precinct who meet once a week at town hall who can debate things a lot faster?
If we did that, would that mean instead of select board, there'd be a mayor?
It depends on how the charter would be written.
Okay.
So if the charter wants to be written to have a mayor, they could. If they want to keep the town manager, who was like the day-to-day executive of the town, they could. If they want to keep the but So that's why I can't vote on whether or not we should change the charter, because I don't know what the new proposed charter would even look like.
Oh, okay.
I can understand the pros and cons of both, and I guess I can't make a decision before.
So the timing would be the structure of the town government would be presented in a hopeful charter, and then it would be
yes, and then there would be a ballot initiative through the town for the voters to vote on it. And this happened a couple of years ago where we had people vote on whether or not we should change the charter. Hopefully I don't come off as sounding like, again, a snob. A lot of people didn't vote in favor of it because when they heard charter, some people thought it meant charter school.
Oh.
And they're not realizing like, no, it's the basic. It's so like
that's why vocabulary is really important.
Yes.
And
but this is why things like Plymouth Independent are really important too, to like lay out those things. And then I'll always say this, and maybe I'll get yelled at for it. Please get off all things Plymouth. It's just a cesspool of misunformation.
Thank you.
And I know some. I don't even go on Facebook, so I don't know. But all I know is I heard this. I'm like, please.
It's supposedly Plymouth is pretty famous for having all the hate and stuff.
Yes,
and the pickering
and
on
it's just like if you're that angry, I'm sorry. Like
do something about it by getting involved in town government.
And I get
volunteering.
I get that you're angry because there are things to be angry about. But posting anonymously on a social media site meant to drum up other anger is not actually a solution. You're just being angry.
Yeah.
Like I always say this to people. Like it's okay to be angry. Anger is a natural human emotion. If you have to be angry, be angry. You will forever be judged on how you act on that anger. And if you come off acting like a complete a-hole, no one's going to take you seriously, and the changes that you want aren't going to be made, and then people start getting more mad at you for it.
It's not helpful.
Take your anger and as you said, do something productive with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, take your anger and go pick up trash at the beach. Yeah. If that's what you have to do.
Or anything else that you're interested in.
Yep.
Because like you said, there's a lot of things that need to be done.
Yep. And some of it seems boring, but like that's the really important minutia of how a town works.
Oh, remember when you and I were texting and I was saying, I'm not too proud to ask the stupid questions because everybody's learning and everyone's on a different place on a journey of education. And I mean, I guess the important thing is that we all want to keep learning. Yep. And if we're lifelong learners, I'm not embarrassed to.
Yeah, please ask questions. Yeah. This is coming from a teacher. Of course, I want you to ask questions.
I mean, I didn't know that the charter was like our Constitution. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the vocabulary is important. When you just read an article in the Independent, it's not that it's difficult to understand, but without knowing any of the history or background or what's going on behind the scenes that interacts with that, the facts of that story, it's hard. It's hard to understand.
And for me as an educator or just in town government, I have to remember like, okay, like not everyone does this.
That's a good point. And just throwing out acronyms and all these different words.
I can talk to my civic social club, like my young adult club, to make change in this town, like about things like select board, and we'll watch the YouTube link on it. But if I wanted to talk to my neighbor about it, it could be a little bit more difficult. And no offense to my neighbor whatsoever. I love them and I care about them and I want them to understand. But like they're not in the minutia that I'm doing all the time. And that's, again, I feel bad. I feel like I'm being stuck up and snobby, but...
because I can tell that you also, first of all, that you have the ability to use a variety of different language to be able to educate and teach people in a variety of different ways. And that's really important, that you're able to meet people where they're at when you have these discussions. And I really appreciate that. Like, I don't feel embarrassed or threatened in any way by saying, hey, wait, what does that word mean again?
Yep. By all means, ask questions.
Yeah.
And then not only ask questions, think about what you can do. I know we've talked a lot about that, but we don't have much time left. And I want to share like two little things with you.
Please.
See if I can like really drive home this point about how you can get involved. So my students know what I do in the town. It's all public information. They can go online and they can search my name and it says like Harrison Quinn, chair, whatever committee.
Yeah.
So I had a student 3 years ago. Her name's Charlie. She's like, I live downtown. I'm like, oh, cool. She's like, I don't even want a crosswalk outside my house. I'm really worried about when my little sister crosses the street to get to her bus stop because like cars fly down that road. So
what a good example.
Can you help me get a crosswalk in front of my house? And I'm like, you should come to one of my meetings.
Yeah.
And so like I emailed her parents and she's like, yep, she told us she wants to go. She wants to do it on her own. She doesn't want us to be there.
I'm getting chills.
And I'm like, okay. So we planned it out. I put her on the schedule, the official town agenda.
Wow.
By total coincidence, James Downey, who is like this amazing resource that our town has, is the deputy head of the DPW. James Downey was at this meeting. So Charlie came and she had printouts of where she'd want the crosswalk would go. And she like talked to James. And James was like, wait a minute, is this down the street? She's like, yeah, I live like right there. And he's like, all right, we're going on a field trip. And then so Charlie took the committee and James out of town hall to her street. And she's like, I want a crosswalk right here. This is where my sister has to get to the bus stop. And James is like, I can't. He's like, because like, if you look, like it's blocking a driveway and like, we can't block someone's driveway for a crosswalk.
Yeah.
He's like, but let's walk down the street. And we walked about 50 feet. And he was like, right here is a perfect spot for a crosswalk. He's like, look, it goes from this corner to that corner. Where's your, he's like, her bus stop's right there. It's like, so she can just, she can walk that way. It's great. And within 2 weeks, there's a crosswalk right by her little house there. And then
that's amazing.
I'm an avid runner. And one morning I was running and I just went by and I actually saw her sister crossing the crosswalk. I'm like, oh my God, Charlie's crosswalk's working.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I'm like, but that's the change you can see. And I've had other students. I have another student come because she was worried about how fast people drive by her bus stop. So she had the police. She talked to the Sergeant Shaw. And Sergeant Shaw's like taking all these notes, like, this is great. We're going to have a cruiser sit there. There's an intersection because like little kids shouldn't have to worry about crossing the street. He's like taking all these notes. He's like, I'm going to relay this to the chief.
Sergeant Shaw, who attends the steering committee meetings by way of the chief telling him to go there.
So my 13-year-old student was like face to face with Sergeant Shaw. He's like, this is fantastic information. I needed to hear this.
That's amazing.
Or 3 of my students for their community service project met with the West Plymouth Steering Committee because they're worried about the new development of the gas station car wash next to Market Basket is going to create too much traffic. And where they live right now doesn't have a light and too many cars fly by and they have to get to their bus stops. So their parents have to pull out to drive them to school. But so many people are coming in and out of Market Basket. And now there's new gas station and Carver Road is.
Wow.
And so they've been emailing me and they hope that we can try to get my students to speak in front of town meeting sometime in the future to advocate that we need a traffic light outside their intersection because no one's slowing down. And now at 13 and 14 years old, my students like, I actually can make a difference. And I find that really important.
Exactly. That is amazing. That's just really amazing. You've restored my faith in humanity a little bit by sharing those stories. Because I don't know, I forget how intuitive young people are.
Right? They see it. They absorb it. They're taking it all in.
Yes.
And then if I can end with one more thing in it, but not last story. And then if you have ask questions, obviously. You can get involved because you care about housing or the environment or whatever. And I'm going to say this, you can get involved for 100% selfish reasons.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So I loved growing up here. I don't think it's a coincidence that I grew up here and now I'm a history teacher. Like, look at where we live in this country. Yeah. It's one of the most historical places in the country. And of course, growing up and absorbing all this, I then got involved with town government and history and all of that. And I loved growing up here. I loved the school system. I made amazing friends. I loved going in the woods and going to the beach. And then 4 years ago, I held my son for the first time. And all those things on my agenda pale in comparison to being a father. And I love being a father. Yeah. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I want this town better for him. I want him to be able to afford a house someday.
He's tearing up.
Yeah, right? Because I care that much. Like I look at like, is Theo going to be able to afford a house someday? Yeah. And I feel really weird advocating for affordable housing, but also being a landlord. Like, am I actually being an affordable housing or am I just giving lip service to it? But I also have to look at it like, well, hopefully Theo has a place to live someday. And I also can age in place because now we can both have a place. And while his future may be unwritten and it's for his to decide, I don't have to, hopefully, knock on wood, worry about him leaving this town because he doesn't have options to housing. But I'm also...
Or becoming homeless. Because there is...
But I'm incredibly privileged that I had access to that. Yeah. So many people won't.
Right.
And I can't pull the ladder up for other people's kids.
Yeah. Which is really frustrating and sad. Yep. But also I can see that that's another reason why you're doing all this advocacy and begging people to get involved.
So yeah, it's 100% selfish. Not, I guess. But like I look at Theo and I want him to have the future that I had when I grew up. This limitless, I can do what I want, surrounded by history and this amazing nature and this amazing place, and have access to an amazing education and friends and family and housing. And I want to make sure that's there for him, but I also want to make sure it's there for other people as well, too.
I love that. Thank you so much, Harris
you.
and Quinn. I really appreciate you coming on and giving us all this education. And I thank you for what you're doing in the town. I really,
Thank
really
you.
sincerely thank you.
If you want the one pager, I can email it out to anyone.
That would be-
my little
Yeah.
so I give it to my students.
Oh, I'd love that.
So
I would love that. I'll give you my email. I don't think we did that yet. But I do want to, before we wrap it up, I want to thank everyone on our podcast team of Indivisible Plymouth, which is Heidi Mayo, Phoebe Flynn, Joanne Oscar, Shelley Rowell, Lynn Lufkin, Joe Brennan, Sandy Cormier. And I just want to remind people that you can find out more about Indivisible Plymouth, which is our local chapter of the National Indivisible. And you can find us at indivisibleplymouth.org. And our mission is taking positive, effective action in support of democracy and human rights, motivated by love, not hate, to push the moral arc of history. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And thanks again, Harrison, and thanks again to the Crackerjack team here at the Local Scene.
thank you, Local Scene. Thank you, Oliver. And thank you for having me, Priscilla.
Absolutely.